Check one, two, check one, two. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Circle Talk. It is Friday, and I'm excited for another opportunity to bring someone that has done a lot of inspirational things and has dedicated themselves to their community and the people in their community to the forefront to share their story with us all. My good friend Rachi, I've known him for almost 30 years. Almost 30 years we've known each other. We grew up on the same streets of the Hilltop, and both played ball, but he was a little bit better than me. Went on to do some amazing things as not only a player but as a coach, and is doing a lot of amazing things in the community. So we're gonna talk about his life, his journey, and a lot of things that he's been going through now in his day to day right now. But before we get into that, one of the things that I wanted to touch on, it's been a crazy week, as you all know, in my life and the lives of a lot of people in this area. We've lost a lot of important people. It seems like death is really taking its toll on us this year. First off, I just want to say to everybody that's going to Shareem Allen's wake today. We love you. We appreciate you. Shareem was an amazing person. We're going to truly miss him. He did a lot of amazing things in our community as well. And went to school with him. Amazing guy. And I'm definitely going to be praying for that family. Also, yesterday, a good friend of mine, Joey Baker, passed away. Heart attack. Young guy, about a year younger than me. Had a heart attack, and unfortunately he didn't make it. I thank you for everybody out there that has been reaching out and just saying their condolences. We're all a family, and so that one hit us hard. But this morning we had another tragic loss to our family. Mr. Chuck Marlowe actually is a person that started me on this journey. When I first started doing Circle Talk, he gave me the vision, he gave me the place, he gave me the idea, the direction, and we did this together for the first 2 months that we started Circle Talk. Chuck had his own priorities and things that he was doing in his life that he needed to take care of, and so he decided not to continue on Circle Talk, but we still were good friends, and we still stayed in contact. Unfortunately, last night he lost his battle. This guy had 8 strokes, you guys, and fought and fought and fought. I don't know if any of you out there are watching, seeing his morning glories. He was dedicated to the people, enjoying each and every day like it was his last. So I just want to take a quick moment of silence for all of these people that has moved on and are off to be with the man upstairs. So quick moment of silence. Thank you guys so much for that. So I don't want to keep Rachi waiting. I know he's working right now. He's kind of busy. But I want to make sure that I do send a shout out to our sponsor, iShotYou.com. If anyone out there in the area is looking for someone to do pictures for you, whether it's weddings, whether it's graduation, whether it's just getting together with family and friends and taking some photos for memories, iShotYou.com. He'll meet you wherever you need to go. He'll do pretty much any and everything for you when it comes to pictures. So hit him up. Amazing guy. Trust me. I've done all my work with him. The pictures on my wall right now, they're all from him. So hit up iShotYou.com. I don't know what happened. He popped out. We'll give him a second to jump back in. Once he jump back in, we'll bring him on. But real quick, another thing that I want to say is I want to thank everybody that has reached out and helped us with Thanksgiving in July. It's going down Sunday. We got the turkeys, we got the hams, we got the green bean casserole, the stuffing, and we got personal items for these people out in the community that are really needing. So thank you to everybody that continue to participate and help us make this thing possible. Sunday is going to be an amazing event. And hopefully, if you guys are available, you come out and support us and help us change lives this weekend. So without further ado, Rachi is back. Let's try and get him on before he has to get back to work. So we'll bring him on real quick. He's saying he's having some buffering problems. So we'll give him a quick minute and see if he comes back on. Guys, thank you again so much for continuing to support Circle Talk. This journey has been amazing, and you guys have been awesome for continue to come through, continue to participate and support us with everything that we're doing. Let's see if we can get him on, you guys. 1 second. What's going on, man? What you doing over there?
Yeah, technology life. Hey, sometimes the internet says no. That's just how it works sometimes. So
I seen it. But hey, we got you on now. Let's try and get into something before it kicks you off again.
No question. Appreciate you having me.
Man, I appreciate you for being here, man. I know how busy you are getting ready for the season, right? You guys should be getting ready for the season, right?
It's almost go time. How you feeling
about it, though?
You know what? I'm so blessed to have the opportunity. Like, I was like, I'm in my hometown where I grew up, in the team that I played on, gym that I grew up playing in. I'm so blessed to have that opportunity. And a lot of coaches say, "Oh yeah, I want to coach at this school or that school," but if they had the chance to go back where they're from, they'd love to do that.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing, man. And I'm excited for this interview because, man, we have so many connections.
No question.
It's just crazy.
It's been too many years, and all the people that we know, right? The throwbacks.
Yeah, we all know the same. We all fluctuate around the
grew up together.
Circle of people. Yeah. So what I want to do, man, is I always like to touch on people's growth, where it all started for them. Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about your childhood, how it was in the Wortham home as a kid growing up?
Yeah, no question. It was different than what society thinks a family should be. They always talk about broken homes. There's no broken homes. There's only homes. And so what I tell people is I grew up with my mom and my 3 sisters. But we lived at a bunch of different homes. We lived in like 12 different homes, 13 homes when I was growing up. But the home that we call home was on 18th and Hill at my grandparents' house, because whenever we had to move from this place, we moved to that place. And so, but inside there was my granddad, my grandma, my uncle, one of my sisters, my cousins, and my aunt and us, right? And so it was a 4-bedroom home, and it was about 14 of us. And so it was all different times and different, but it's not to shoot a shot, just it was what it was. My granddad was a soldier, and we lived where it was really tough people outside, and whatever he said goes. The tough guys would never challenge him. And so I learned what it was like to be a real man from him.
That's awesome, though, man. I never and honestly, as long as I've known you, I didn't realize you guys had that many people in your house. I mean, I knew you had your sisters, because obviously, I went to school with your older sister. Yeah. But man, 14, huh?
Yeah, I mean, they would just bring people in. Like my granddad would just take them, like all of my cousins come, my aunts come. I mean, we just had to figure it out. And so you talk about family. My granddad was about family, and it mattered. And my grandma was about family, and it was crazy because we had so limited resources. We had so very limited resources, but we made it happen, and we never complained. And we might eat the same meal over and over and over and over and over again, but we always had food. And so it might be very little, but we had it. So blessed to have that opportunity.
So during school, you played a little AAU ball? You play AAU?
Yeah, you know what? I played a little bit. I played at Al Davies Boys and Girls Club. I'm a Hilltop kid. I love it through and through.
Hey.
Al Davies Boys and Girls Club was everything for me. For me, like, people say, "Oh, if it wasn't for that, I would have been in the streets. I would have been in the gangs. I would have been 100%." Al Davies Boys and Girls Club. And my mom always said, "Tell just not to," whatever. But in front of our house, it was every day, not just all right down the street. In front of our house, it was an everyday thing, right? And so when I got to the Boys and Girls Club, it was so relaxed for me. I could just hoop as much as I wanted. I was with my friends, dudes that I played AAU with. And so I played AAU for Al Davies and People Center in between, because People Center was 2 blocks away, or at sometimes 1 block away, and Al Davies was 5 blocks away. And so so that part. But then from there, after 8th grade, it shut down. So we were lucky enough to get with a team called fast break. With Travis DeCure, who's the head coach at the University of Montana, he was coaching at Mercer Island High School, and he came down. He got a bunch of us here to Tacoma and brought some of the East Side guys in Seattle. Actually, Brandon Roy's older brother, played with us in a tournament, and so we had a lot of success with that. But when I say this, people laugh. Like, I was one of the weakest players by far, and like that team was so talented. And I was just one of the guys, right? So I was playing my role.
I'm gonna say this, and then I'm gonna be quiet. But you're probably right though, because I remember balling with you back in the day. I mean, you was good. But you weren't like
I was never a star. I never was a star on any of my teams.
Right.
When they pick all-stars, I wasn't all-star. Football, I could do the all-star stuff, but not basketball.
Hey, you know what? I was talking to my girl, and after we got finished talking the other day, and I was like, man, Rachi was never that guy. I swear, every time we go to either YMCA or whatnot, he was always like the third or the fourth option. He was never like the first.
I could have been the ninth option. But my team was going to win. It didn't matter. One thing I know is whatever I have to do to be on that floor to help the team win, I'm on that.
Bro, I know I'm going to be moving back and forth a little bit, but I got to say this to you real quick. You said a couple things at the Juneteenth celebration that I wanted to touch on. You had mentioned the fact that you were never the number one choice on the teams that you played, but you always had the academics. Touch on that. Remember when you said that?
Absolutely. I tell all the kids that. So one thing my mom did do is say, do as I say, not as I do. My mom always didn't make she'll tell everybody, I didn't make the greatest decisions, but I told my kids to make good decisions. I listened to that. And if I didn't, I'd be in trouble. And so, but Mason, my mom sent me to Mason Middle School. My whole family went to Jason Lee. We grew up on the Hilltop, and everybody went to Jason Lee, which is now Hilltop Heritage School. And I went to Mason Middle School, and it changed my academic trajectory. It made me, I didn't want to be there. I didn't like it. I was one of 4 or 5 kids from the Hilltop that most kids didn't look like me, didn't talk like me, didn't act like me. And I wasn't comfortable. So I had to figure out how to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And academically, I excelled. And so from then on, I always did pretty good, right? And so, but one time I had all A's and 2 C's, and our AAU team going on a trip. My mom told the coach I couldn't play. All A's and 2 C's. And we were going to Portland, and so I couldn't play. And so I never got another C again after that. And it's just decisions, man. You're already in school, so why not do good at it, right? And so I push that on my son all the time. And I shout out my mom all the time for that. Like, she made me do it. The best decision she ever made for me was to send me to Mason Middle School because the academic piece is so instrumental. And school is not for everybody, but educating yourself is. And I say that all the time. Like, if you're already there and you already have to do it, you already have to be in the classes. You might as well get something out of it. So I was lucky in that regard that mom was like, do it, and I listened.
That's amazing, man. Mason Middle School. I didn't even realize you went to Mason.
Most people don't. No,
I went to Jason Lee.
I went to Jason Lee. Yeah, everybody
went to Jason Lee.
I almost cried. Like, man, what are we talking about? But then I'm telling you, I promise on my life, it was the best decision for me because
I believe it.
It made me grow. It made me learn how to deal with all different types of people. And I'm coming home to the Boys and Girls Club every day. Oh, such and such got in a fight. Oh, this person got put on, and that person. I'm like, I'm glad I'm not at Jason Lee. I'm glad.
And
honestly,
you're absolutely correct because back then it was what it was. It was just like being in those streets at Jason Lee. It was like remember the movie The Substitute? It was like that. The whole school. The whole school was like that. Not just one class.
Nobody listening.
The whole school was hood. You know what I'm saying?
So I'll tell you this. My sister Harmony went to Mason for 1 quarter. And she told her, either one of us, if we get a 4.0, we could transfer. Harmony got a 4.0, and she went to JasonLee. After one semester, I think it was one semester. And then she went to Jason Lee, and it was all bad. It was all bad.
Yeah. But, you know, I did go to Jason Lee, and there were people that did make it out of there. So,
of course,
I mean, I can't say it was all bad. There was some bright spots in there.
No doubt. We'll leave Jason Lee alone. I got a lot of jokes for Jason Lee folks. I love my Jason Lee people because I grew up with every one of them.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about college or high school. Let's go to high school. Let's talk about Foss, man.
Okay. Let's talk about
how'd you enjoy Foss? I mean, you guys have
I loved every second of it. No exaggeration. But here's the thing about Foss. Foss's district is on the 19th Street side of Hilltop. I was on 18th.
Yeah.
And then it's really on the Sprague side, on the other side of Sprague. And so the district I was in was stadium, and there was no chance. With all due respect to my stadium folks,
Hey, watch it. Watch
all due
it
respect to my
there.
stadium folks, I wasn't going to stadium. And then so I optional enrolled. I picked Foss and I picked Wilson. They picked me to go to Wilson. And I saw like, Mom, I don't want to go to Wilson. My sisters already went to Wilson. She loved it. They loved her. She was great. And they did. She's a tremendous human, right? But then 2 days before school started, I went to my uncle's house, who was in the Foss district, and I started staying with him. And so we used his address, and I went to Foss, and it worked tremendous. And it was a cohort of a lot of Al Davies kids that went to Foss. A lot of kids from my neighborhood. I feel like a lot of Hilltop kids were going to stadium in Foss, and I didn't want to go to stadium. And so I went to Foss, and it was all about neighborhood for me. The dudes I was playing with, I wanted to go where they were going. And so we went to Foss, and a lot of like 5 or 6 of our freshmen came in together that were pretty good players. Some of my best friends, some of my groomsmen still to this day.
Yeah.
But 4 of those guys played varsity, and I wasn't one of them. They went 2-18. And I wish I would have. They went 2-18 that season. And then fast forward a couple of years, we ended up winning the state championship for the first time in the city of Tacoma in 25 years. And so it was amazing. It was great. I played football and basketball. The thing I wish I would have done, if I could ever wish I'd do something, is play baseball. Baseball is my best sport, but we never really had it. In 6th grade, I got stopped at Al Davies. And so I wish I would have continued playing baseball. Now my son's in it, and I push him all the time, man. You're going to be great at baseball. Stay at it.
Yeah.
You don't know, but stay at it. Why not?
That's awesome. That's awesome. So real quick, I'm looking at the comments. David Brown said, tell him to upgrade his Android phone.
So David Brown, shout out to Coach Brown. He's on my coaching staff at TCC, and he's our elder statesman. But we always talk. We always talk about the different phones and how people's internet works, and because we do a bunch of Zooms, and so I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. So let's talk about that championship year, man.
Let's do it.
How amazing was that? Who was all on that squad? Let's talk about that squad.
Unbelievable. It was unbelievable because at that time there was no let's transfer here, let's transfer there. You transfer because you had family issues, or you transfer because you moved.
Yeah.
There's no let's go here and go there. Whatever your neighborhood is, that's where you go to school, right?
Right.
And so it was such a blessing to have the dudes that I grew up with play. Myself, Keenan Joyce, Demetrius Crosby, Solomon Wyatt, Mark Axton, Kerry Nicholas, Greg Shadowvine, Terrence Menifee, Michael Moore, Joe Caniddle, Rhett Parker. And so that was our team. But you think about Keenan Joyce and Demetrius Crosby were first team All-State.
Yeah.
Kerry Nicholas was second team All-State. The very next year, Mark Axton was State Player of the Year. Solomon was first team All-State. And then there's me.
He just snuck in there.
I'm just, hey, you know what's crazy is when I say this sounds nuts, but I was the littlest dude, and whatever I said, they listened to. Like if I said we run blue, they run blue. If we, hey man, you just need to block out. All right, man, I got you. Like, and it wasn't from a negative place. I just wanted us to win so bad. I remember a game I had 10 points in the first half, and I didn't miss a shot. I didn't even shoot in the second half. They're like, "What's wrong with you? You should have went for." Man, I just want to win. That's who I am. I'm no exaggeration. Awesome. I just want to win. And so when you said we go to the YMCA, we go to late night, we go to whatever, Rachi was never the guy. But I always, in my mind, I wanted to guard the best player, who was Leonard White growing up. Leonard White was everything. Shout out to man. Lefty. Every day, the lefty. I wanted to guard Leonard White. And Leonard White is what, I don't want to say he's the one who made me tougher, but he made me so much mentally tougher every day. Because he's younger than me and was killing everybody. So I
kill him.
But if I can guard Leonard, I can guard the rest of these clowns. And so I used to think that. So when we got to Foss, naturally our competition every day at practice just kept getting us better and better and better and better and better, and elevated us. But we would not just play at Foss. After practice, we'd go to the People's Center, we'd go to Al Davies, and we'd play every day. So we go to practice and then Al Davies and People's Center every single day, and we play.
That's awesome. So
we ended up winning the state championship. It was amazing. We started number 1. We ended number 1. But prior to that, the summer before my senior year, we did Seattle Youth Summer League, and we won every game except the last one. We lost to Rainier Beach in the championship, and I think we lost about 6 points or whatever. And they had a super squad. And,
was it Lodrick? Was Lodrick in the?
Those guys were younger than me, so they had Rick Frazier. They had Nate. The twins were young. They had Tim Ellis. One more player I can't remember. Shout out to those guys. I can't remember who else. They had a big guy, but they were good, right? And so, and they beat us, and nobody else had beat us that summer. So then we come into the tournament. I mean, to the league. Like, we're about to beat all these guys. Like, and not to be negative, not to be arrogant. We're like, man, we've done it. Like, if we can, we beat all these other teams in the summer league. And I'm not going to talk bad about anybody. they were good teams, right?
Yeah.
So then we go to the tournament, and first game we play like Kamiakin, then we played Kentwood, and we had just beat Kentwood in the districts, and then we played Garfield, and it was Seattle Tacoma, Seattle Rotary CAY versus Al Davies Boys and Girls Club. That's what it was. That was the matchup in the Tacoma Dome with everybody watching, right? And so our whole respect was so much respect from us. Not like people like, oh, they don't like each other. It's not hate. It's like we're about to beat these boys. We can't wait to play these guys. But the one thing that we could do was match their energy because we weren't afraid of them. Like a lot of teams would be afraid of them. You know what I mean? Come in and, oh, they're dunking and they're – no. We could do the same. And I'm not trying to be –
having some buffering issues.
I'm not trying to go back and see if I can see it on. Can you not hear me? David,
I just heard that part.
The Samsung.
I can hear you.
Where'd
now.
you hear me end off? Where'd you hear me end off?
You was talking about the tournament and Seattle versus.
Okay. Yeah, it was because it was such a big buildup because Seattle Tacoma rivalry, but it was like Seattle Rotary and CAYA guys against Al Davies Boys and Girls Club. So the buildup was so cool. But the one thing, I'm not, no exaggeration, the buildup was so cool. But the one thing about us is we were not afraid of them. Like a lot of teams, they'll intimidate because they were so talented. Probably the most talented team that I ever watched. And straight talent, like 9 Division I players, NBA players, talent. I mean, Brandon Roy was Rookie of the Year. Just would have been a perennial all-star. Like they had guys. But with that is we weren't afraid of them. Like if we got into an altercation, we were with that too. You know what I mean? So like it didn't matter for us. So we ended up beating them, and then we played Bethel in the state championship game. And Bethel had like 4 or 5 of their guys from our fast break team. And so Jarrell Everson was their best player, and he transferred from Foss to Bethel. So it was amazing build up for that too, right? And Jarrell Everson was on our AAU team our whole lives, and we ended up beating him, and it was amazing feeling, especially coming from – I got chills now. But coming from where we came from, because it wasn't even a thing. Winning a state championship, nobody wins state where we're from. You know what I'm saying? Nobody. Yeah. Like they can say, oh, yeah, well, in 76, this. Yeah, but not in 25 years. Right?
None of us were born.
No. That, and so – But to watch the guys that came before me and came and laid the groundwork for us to be able to do that. Right. And guys that took us to Young Life camps and took us outside to train and took us to the Boys and Girls Club to really, really be influential in our lives. It was important for us to win that for them too, because it was for us, obviously, but our parents that took us and drove us and did whatever they had to do to help us be successful to be able to play basketball. People don't think about that. But after we were like, dang, we did it. Like, and now I'm lucky enough to be able to work alongside of Keenan. I started my own company, but Keenan Joyce was one of my best friends in the world. I work alongside of him daily. And so it's unbelievable. All these relationships because of basketball and sport, Boys and Girls Club and neighborhoods, unreal.
So we're already halfway through the interview.
Now, don't cut me off. Don't cut me off.
Hey, we gonna have to do a part 2 because we got so much to talk about, bro. Like literally, I didn't even get into the fact that Young Life. Let's talk a little bit about Young Life. You had mentioned Young Life, and for me, Young Life was a huge part of keeping me alive. You know, because I'm like you. If I didn't have Young Life at a time when I wasn't at home and I was dealing with all the mess that I was dealing with my pops, I probably would have led to the streets and been off doing all those other things.
Before you go there, can you tell them what the streets look like? Because I say it a lot, but can you tell them what your streets look like so people can understand?
I mean, let me give you guys a prime example of what we dealt with, okay? Like every day. This wasn't like one day a week. Like every day you had gangs, you had violence, you had prostitution. Literally, my street, I was on 20th and MLK on 19th. You'd always see Crips on 19th. You'd always see Crips on 23rd. You cross Goodwill, and then you got the Bloods over there. You go down to 8th Street. You got the GDs hanging out on 8th Street. There was gangs. There was violence. There was all of this every day. It wasn't like, you know, once in a blue moon. It was all the time.
Okay.
We heard gunshots every day. Every day.
Not only just the gunshots. Oh, you know, such and such died. Oh, you know, such and such got shot. Weekly. Like, oh, you know, that when that gunshot you heard that night was, you know, such and such died. Like, so it was a real thing. And here's the other thing. You as a kid have to navigate the streets. You got to figure out which ways to walk and which ways not to walk. And if you get caught in that, I walk this way and they were all coming, you just got to know how to navigate. You got to know how to talk. You got to know how to walk. You know who to deal with. And there's different cliques and different gangs inside of the neighborhood, right? Yeah, you got to be you got to be able to navigate all that and get to where you got to get and then get home safely. You know what I mean? It was different. Absolutely, and so I like for other people to say it, because I say it. I try to teach my players. I try to teach the people around me where I came from. But it's good for them to hear from somebody else.
Hey, one of the biggest advantages for me as a person that grew up on the hill was with that I was really fast. So I ran everywhere.
I hear that.
I ran everywhere. I didn't stay long. I went quick, fast, and in a hurry everywhere I went to, because it was that bad. It really was. It wasn't like, you know, like people think it is now, where it's every once in a while these things happen. It was all daily. Time.
So you mentioned Young Life. So we had a guy named Chad Davidson. Chad Davidson, we didn't know from Adam, but we started going to late night. Chad shows up to late night with Lena Thompson. Lena, we love you. You're the best. Lena Thompson did the most work ever. Dave Hillis, we love you. You're the best. They did Young Life. Young Life was a Christian camp, a Christian organization that came in and took our inner city youth and traveled us, long story short, to teach us about God and Christ and all these different things. But Chad Davidson ended up working with the Young Life, and he took a van around. He would drive the van around the neighborhood every Friday and pick us up. So we just started jumping in with Chad. Chad got us. We knew once the Young Life van, they mostly took us to late night at the downtown Y. But the Young Life van come pick us up. They would feed us. They would take us to late night. They would make sure we're safe. So if we got in an altercation, their adults would look out for us. And not that we needed them to, but they did. Then they would drive us home safely. So Young Life took me to, man, Young Life was the best. They took me to Portland, Oregon for free, where I ended up, they had the 6-person bikes that you pedal. I ended up crashing to Miss Teen, Oregon. I was driving like they paid for it. I didn't have to think about that. They took me to Woodleaf in California multiple times. But they took me to Breakaway. They took me to all these different camps to teach me about God. So I already knew about God, but I said, hey, Christ, I'm yours in 7th grade at a Young Life camp.
Amazing, man. Amazing.
Man.
And I tell people about Young Life, and it's nice to hear someone else second what I've been talking about.
Facts.
For me,
it was legit.
For me, I went to Young Life. I met this white dude, you know, on the Hilltop at Stadium High School at a time when I didn't have a father. I was jumping from place to place to place.
Right.
It was like God put this person in my life at the right time so that I could go to this camp, play basketball, like you said, feed us, take us to play ball, and then talk to us a little bit about God. It wasn't like bombarding us about God.
Nope.
It was saying, hey, this is the teaching. This is what we're doing. If you guys want to be a part of it, this is where we're at. And they gave us the option whether we wanted to come or not.
That was instrumental every week for us. I mean, it was, and there's hundreds of guys on the neighborhood. It was mostly men, I felt like, mostly boys. I was around the boys group. There might have been a women's group too, but they were they know idle time creates problems. And a lot of our friends that became gang members, our brothers, our cousins, whatever, is because of free time, man, and then being a follower. Yeah. A lot of dudes are afraid to say no. Hey, multiple times in my life, I had to be like, Rachi, you're about to get put on today. For what? I could do everything you're doing without getting put on and being a gang member. And we're doing it. We're together right now for a reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly.
I didn't need to do that. But Young Life was an opportunity where we can go and be safe and talk about Christ. And they're really, really trying to help us be great people. Truly trying to help us be great people. That was big for us.
So after Young Life, you went to college, obviously. You went to college. TCC, right?
I went to University of Alabama out of high school.
Oh, that's right. You went to Alabama.
Yeah. I had some academic money. I went to University of Alabama. It was so different. Like here in the Northwest, everybody hangs out with everybody. At lunch, you eat. Everybody's sitting white, black, green, Cambodian, Vietnamese. We're all sitting together. Samoan. Yeah. You go to University of Alabama, it is separate. The blacks sit on one side, the whites sit on one side at lunch. You have a couple sprigs here and a couple whites here, a couple blacks here, and that's it. And so I didn't understand that. But my roommate was a young black man trying to go get his law degree, and I was talking to him, and I'm like, man, it's really like this every day. He's like, yeah, this is just the culture here. I'm like, bro, it's so different. But when I drove into the University of Alabama, my aunt was taking me, and when I first drove in, I can see it clear as day still. I drove into some apartments, and there was a Confederate flag in the top right corner. I'm like, oh, and like, what are we doing? Like a huge Confederate flag. And so I'm like, this is what they're doing down here. And it's real. You hear about it on TV, but this is 2000, mind you. I'm way back in 2000 looking at it like, man, how do they view people? But you talking about privilege. I'm gonna have a lot more privilege than the average dark black man, right? Like, but so I went to school and I kind of hung out with the people I wanted to hang out with. I was going to join a black fraternity regardless. I pledged Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated once I transferred, but I didn't pledge at Alabama. But those are the dudes that were going to pledge Kappa or going to pledge Q. Those are the dudes I was hanging out with. And so I enjoyed my experience. It was eye-opening to me. It taught me that race matters and culture matters. And you see black and white. I went to Mason Middle School, so I saw it, but I really, as an adult, like, dang, I guess I was an 18-year-old boy still, but as an adult looking back, like, there's so many values and so many lessons that you learn. You don't even think about, you don't like actually learn them. It happens to you and you feel it. And like, dang, that racism stuff is real.
It's real.
I had a boy from Coleman, Alabama on our floor, and we had a group meeting, floor meeting. And he was like, "Nah, I can't come." He's like, "Why?" He's like, "We don't intermingle with black people." That's literally what he said. Coleman, Alabama. I'm like, bro, what? That's what you guys do? It's unbelievable. And it was, like I said, it was eye opening. That's just, and that's in 2000. That's the 2000s. We're not talking about the 70s, right? So different.
Yeah,
but it was
crazy,
phenomenal.
Man.
It was unbelievable. I'm an Alabama fan. I grew up Alabama fan. My dad's from Alabama. My mom's family from Alabama. It's crazy. So I grew up an Alabama fan. So I went to University of Alabama to get a better relationship with my dad, and it didn't happen at that point. But my dad's back here now, and we have a pretty good relationship. So it worked out.
That's cool. Culture, man. The culture.
It's
crazy. It's crazy.
Culture is a real thing, though. We start talking about culture. Like, it's different between being black and white, but having a white culture and a black culture is way different too, you know?
Yeah. Whew. All right, we can get deep into that too.
That's my heart. And so when I was in school, I can tell you, so let me keep going. I went to Tacoma Community College. It was great. We won the championship. I played for Carl Howe, who is one of the legends in the Northwest in basketball coaching. He's now the head coach at Skagit Valley Community College. We actually both went to Eastern Washington together. I went to Eastern Washington. I was the president of NAACP, the vice president of Black Student Union, and I pledged Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. So I had a lot of talking about culture and thought and equity and diversity on my mind when I was young. I also wanted to build my resume, and I know that if Rachi Wortham is on a resume compared to John Smith, it's gonna be a little bit harder to get that degree if I don't have numbers and letters and things on my resume. So it was important to me even young, and I'm lucky that I was able to learn that. But I tell all kids that now, like, listen, you have to build your resume. If you need to go volunteer somewhere, if you need to go get a job, you got to build your resume different than other people's, because when they put them apples to apples, somebody else may be able to get a phone call that doesn't help you get that job. But if your resume says, hey, I don't care who calls, I'm getting this job. So it was important for me. So, but now we want to talk about this culture. I'm all in because it matters. It matters.
Yeah,
it matters.
I when you was talking about your experience at Alabama, it made me really think about mine as well. When I went to Louisiana for the first time, I was 31 years old. That was 13 years ago, and first time meeting my family. All my family's from Louisiana,
right?
And it's exactly the same way that you had presented it to us. It's like I was there for 11 days. I didn't see any mixed couples. I didn't see any white people where my family is from. It was all blacks. You know, interracial is a foreign language down there. They don't do that. Like, I show them pictures of my kids, and I mean, they accept my kids. My family, I love my family down there. But you can tell it's different. You know, it's just different. They're not used to seeing, you know, mixed kids, like black and white kids. And so it was just really weird to me, you know, but at the same time, it's real. It's true. You know, that people are like that. And it's crazy how far we need to go still, even 13 years ago, you know,
man,
it's craziness.
Everywhere is different, and every place in the country has its own culture, right? It doesn't matter. Black culture in the Northwest is different than black culture in the South. White culture in the Northwest is different than white culture even in California, right? It's just different. So we have to be able to understand what your family's okay with, and what your wife or your significant other is going to deal with. And so I'm lucky that Lisa, my wife, she just kind of lets me rock and lets me do what I want to do and lets me do what's in my heart. My son's 9, Joaquin, and we just teach him. We do teach him color matters. Color matters. Like there's colorism is a thing, and you look different than other kids. And it's not that it's wrong or it's right. It's just a thing.
Yeah.
And so I try to teach him that it doesn't matter if that person's white, that person's black. They're people, but try to tell him that society does not treat everybody the same. And I try to teach him. He's 9 years old, and I want him to know that. And people are like, well, why would you teach that? What's wrong with teaching that? That's when we have a problem. That teaching that we tell him that there's no difference, and then when it happens to him or it happens to his friend, like, why did they treat him like that, or why did they respond like this? You know. And so try to make sure that we all understand. You can respond one way, and somebody else can respond the other way, the same exact way, and there'll be two different responses from an officer or from a teacher or from a. But how do we deal with it? And how do you operate inside your home? How do you treat the people next door? You don't treat them differently because they look different. Mm-hmm. So try to have those conversations as much as possible.
Yeah.
And to me, there's nothing wrong with that. Like that's a thing. Colorism is a thing, and it's not that it's right or wrong, but it's a thing. So
it's facts. I have to have conversations like that with my daughters a lot because they deal with. They've actually came to me and talked to me, had conversations about how they're not being accepted on the black side because they're lighter skinned, and they're not being accepted on the white side because they're darker skinned. And how would you talk to someone if they came to you and told you that? How would you respond? How do you respond to that?
I lived it, and so but I never really thought about. I really didn't think about it. People would laugh and joke and call me light skin or whatever, but I never. To me, our neighborhood was just black kids, right, for the most part. And so I hung out with my friends and didn't think about it. But I think for kids, you tell them you are yourself. You don't say, hey, you are black, you're white, that you're mixed, but you are yourself. You are the dream. You're the ultimate dream. And so what kids are afraid of is being bullied. They're afraid of not fitting in. They have to fit into who you are. You don't have to fit into who they are. And so if you tell them you're the dream, this is what the world's going towards is what you are. And so our ancestors may not want to hear that, but that's what the world's going to is a light complexion, mixed person. That's what it is. So that's how I try to respond to kids like that.
So what's coaching looking like for you? How much do you enjoy coaching?
I love it, man. You know what's crazy is I had some coaches that were instrumental in my life and told me life stories and taught me life lessons, and they were a huge void in my life when my dad was gone. And so they weren't my dad, obviously they were a coach, but sometimes they're uncle, sometimes they're dad, sometimes they're coach, sometimes they're cousin, whatever they needed to be, they kind of fit those roles. And so I tell my players like this: I don't want to be your dad. I'm not trying to be your dad, but if you need me to sit back and listen like a dad will, I'll do that. If you want me to be coach, I'll be that. If you want me to be uncle, I'll be that. And so I really, truly, truly want to be that for these kids. But also, you never know what degree you can help them get that can change their life for the rest. You're talking about generational wealth. If they come in at TCC and say, hey, I'm gonna get a business degree and I'm going to get a dental degree, and they change their life trajectory, their family's life trajectory financially, then man, that's what it's about. Ultimately, teach them to be great humans. Like when you walk up to somebody and shake their hand and use your eyes and use your voice and say, hey, my name is A, B, and C, whatever A, B, and C is, like, oh, well, this person's serious. When you walk down the street, your pants aren't sagging. I grew up with my pants sagging. I get it. Like my mom used to always tell, pull your pants up, boy. People in the community center, pull your pants up. But that's not cool. That's our culture in inner city culture. That's inner city culture, but that's not cool in business. You can't do that unless you're a CEO and a hip hop mogul. Like if you're a rapper, if you're a basketball player, you can't do that in Fortune 500 companies. So I'm trying to explain to these young men that when it's your turn, you need to be presentable every single time, and you need to be able to enunciate your pronunciations every single time, right? And it's fun, man. And I get to help kids that grew up like me, and I look at it like that. And I get to help kids that grew up with 2-parent households and mansions, and I get to help the gamut in between, right? And then put them all together and manage these personalities and help them get degrees and help them move on to 4-year colleges. It's unreal. So I will say this too. I talked about Coach Brown. I also was able to pull up and work alongside of Turner Cagle, who's one of my best friends, my brother. I work alongside of him again with the company I started, outreach services and outlet services, and be able to do outreach through outlet services with Turner Cagle and Keenan Joyce every single day. And so I work alongside of him. He's serious as ever on defense. And so I let him have that and say, hey, it's yours, do what you do. And he's thankful for it. He was amazing on defense. And but to me, lifting as you climb is very, very important. It's instrumental in who I was. Somebody lifted me. So now it's my turn. So all these kids that I have an opportunity to, so many kids I don't coach, I help go to college. So many kids, right? Just teach them what a FAFSA is. They don't know what a FAFSA is for the most part.
Yeah.
Financial aid, free money. Why not have it? I don't care if your dad's a billionaire. Sign up for him and make him tell you no. Sign up for it, right? It could be free money coming in your pocket. You don't know. And so then go apply for all these scholarships and apply for all these schools, even if you don't play basketball. I don't care. I can show you how to do it. That's what it's about to me. Now, is school for everybody? No. But if you want to go to school, I kind of got a roadmap that I've done it for some years. I coached at Eastern Washington University. I coached at Oregon State University. I've coached at the University of Montana. And I'm the head coach at Tacoma Community College. And I've been to the NCAA tournament at all those colleges. And then we took third this year in our league. And hopefully things will turn around really, really quick. So 2 teams tied for first, and then we were the next team. And so I'm excited. I'm really, really excited.
Yeah, man, that's good. So what do you favor more? If you could go back to playing ball, would you play ball or would you coach?
I play 100% because this might sound weird, but basketball raised me, man. Like basketball really taught me how to be a young boy, taught me how to be a young man. It taught me how to be a man. Like people are like, what do you mean? You're inside a huddle with all different types of people from all different walks of life. And they teach you, man, I got to talk to David this way. I got to talk to Keenan this way. I got to talk to Demetrius that way. They need support in this classroom. That person needs support at home. It teaches you so many things. And then beyond discipline that you have to do every single day, beyond communication, there's so many things. And then the relationship part of it. All my groomsmen were from the Al Davies Boys and Girls Club. Think about that. 5 of them, all from Al Davies Boys and Girls Club. It teaches you. Just basketball taught me so many things playing, and I loved it. So whenever I had a bad day at home, I knew I could go do basketball and I don't even think about nothing else when I'm playing basketball. Not, oh, my mom's doing this or my sisters are doing that or my cousin's doing this. I don't think about it. I just play basketball and I'm in joy, right? And you got a feeling like a tingly feeling every time, man, I get to do this? What? And as much as I wanted when I was a kid, I know it's different now. The Boys and Girls Clubs and the community centers are different, but I got to do that as much as I wanted every single day. It's crazy.
I got another comment for you. Somebody, yeah. Mom said I'm with Coach. Get that phone game up, son.
Tell her to get off the internet. She loves the internet.
Yeah. Yep. Justin Murray said basketball raised me. Never really thought of it in those exact terms, but it's so true. I mean, basketball raised all of us.
Think about this. Justin Murray grew up in our neighborhood.
And
shout out to Justin Murray, state champ at Life Christian this year. Yeah. But it was just a different growing up. And Justin knows, we talked about this. His mom and his grandma had him in the house, right? Like, and I love my mom to death. Mom, I love you. But she was letting us go. We were in the streets. Like, not that we were running the streets, selling dope and stealing stuff.
Yeah.
But we were out in the community, really, really, really in the community. We rode our bikes from our house all the way to the Wilson High School in the north end to the Trufant's house. We would ride our bikes to the waterfront. In the worst time at the Pacific Northwest ever seen, in the worst neighborhood, maybe on the worst block. No joke, no exaggeration. Look it up. You know what I mean? Like, but you talking about the culture? That was just the culture we were in. In our house, that's what it was. You go home, you go wherever you got to go. I mean, you go to the Boys and Girls Club, you go to the community center, you come home at night, sit.
Yeah, for sure.
Crazy, different, right? Just different.
Yeah, shout out to Justin, man. Shout out
to Justin. Great human. Shout out to Marcus True.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's true.
All right, so let me ask you about what you're doing now. Where you at?
So I started my own company called Outlet Services LLC, and Outlet Services. The reason I even started, I was at the University of Montana coaching basketball, and we had the 2 greatest seasons at University of Montana. We played in the NCAA tournament both years, won the league, won the tournament, played in the NCAA tournament back to back against Michigan. 2 of the greatest years for sure there, and I went and I saw a counselor, and it was snowing, it was raining, it was cold. I'm like, man, I'm not loving this, but the basketball is incredible, right? So I went and saw a counselor, and that was my outlet, right? And he kept on talking to me, just like, why are you coming to see me? I said, first, here's one thing that I need to get this off my chest. I lived with this for 36 years and didn't tell anybody that. Directly across the street from my house, I saw somebody get their stomach stabbed and ripped open, straight when I was growing up. And like, I could have been 9, 10, 11, something like that. Stabbed and ripped. I'm talking about ripped up. And I don't know if the guy died or what. But all I know is I remember the guy said, hey, if you say anything, I'm going to kill you. And so every time I heard a siren, I'm like, dang, man. Every time I heard, because I didn't tell the police or none of that stuff. Every time I heard a siren, so I thought they was coming to me because I didn't snitch, right? So I'm like 20 years old. I literally every single time I used to think that. And you know how many sirens we heard in our neighborhood? Like, damn, they're coming to get me, right? But So I lived with this until I'm 36. So my outlet was to be able to tell this man. And Matt Kachupkek or something. That's how you say his name. I can't say it.
Yeah.
Kachupkek or something. Like, you can look him up. He's in Missoula. But I told him this. I'm like, man, that was so freeing. It's crazy. Like, you don't understand how freeing that was. But it took me all those years to think about, like, why can't I tell anybody? No, he told me he's gonna kill me, bro. And I'm not young, so I used to always, if I tell anybody, they're gonna kill me. But I ended up that day, I ran into my uncle's room and I was just crying and crying and crying. My mom came in, my grandma came in, my aunts came in, my sisters came in, and my sister Harmony remembers that day. And they asked me, like, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? I couldn't tell them. I was like, I miss my dad. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I didn't miss my dad. I didn't care. He was gone. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I couldn't tell them. So I lived with that for all those years. So that's my outlet. So then that year, I wrote up a plan in my phone to create my own business, Outlet Services LLC. And so what Outlet Services is going to be is equity and diversity and nonprofit programming. And so I started doing insurance in Tacoma, and I did really well. I was All-American. I was #1 ranked in this, that, and third rookie. And then Miss Gail, who runs Multicultural Child and Family Hope Center, came and said, I want to hire you. I said, well, I need to make this amount of money, and I need to be able to have some more free time to be able to do some equity and diversity stuff. And you won't believe I already got my plan written up for my own job. She's like, what? And so long story short, I did a speech for the Boys and Girls Club. And she was like, well, what if you come alongside of us? And if we have some speeches, you write up the speeches and you do them for Multicultural Child and Family Hope Center. I said, let me tell you this. I love what you do. 2 of my best friends already work with you guys. They do early ECAP and child care, a lot of foster kids, a lot of homeless kids, and anybody who's foster or homeless gets come in. There's a 2-year waiting list for other kids that have to pay to get in here. And so, and I'm talking about the real work. Like, when somebody doesn't have clothes, Miss Gail is a monster. She goes and figures it out. When they don't eat at home, she figures out how they can send food home. When there's homeless camps, there's all these homeless camps. Turner Cagle twice a week just takes all the food and drives it to those homeless camps and drops them off. It's real work here. It's really, really amazing. There's also a recovery cafe. And so this office right now, you guys might have heard some noise with kids running around. This office is actually inside the Multicultural Child and Family Hope Center. She got me an office inside of here and said, hey, I need you to do the real work with us. And so I'm so blessed to have that opportunity. I'm also working alongside of 828 Consulting. Going to start doing Puyallup School District real soon. I'm working alongside of Teamwork, and Teamwork is a nonprofit organization started by Marcel Cunningham and Lynetta Cunningham, and doing esports and teaching kids responsible gaming. And gaming's so huge, right? Gaming inside this facility is huge, right? But growing up, you don't need to play all those games, get off those video games. That was a thing. But now they can monetize it, and they can teach you how to monetize it and teach you how to, when you and I play this video game, that I'm not mad at you. I'll just say GG for good game and teach you that those skills can translate into life skills. And so I'm happy to be part of it. Teamwork's it's going to take off in the near future. Al Davies Boys and Girls Club is going to benefit from it. So I'm happy to be part of it. And then Tacoma Community College, obviously coaching basketball there. And then after all those things are done, I'm investing in my young fella. So I'm lucky that I can come to work and be able to go home and still be in him and tell him all the good things and all the bad things. And he's like, I don't like this. Well, you started it. Guess what you're going to do? Yeah, I'm on that. Once you start it, you're in. So finish it. So I'm lucky, man.
I'm going to ask you this. I'm going to ask you this question because, you did mention in the very beginning, Pops wasn't there, and you're now a father now. Mm-hmm. What are some of the things that you are, you're starting to learn and transfer to your son that your father never gave you during that time when you was around his age?
Whatever you do, he's gonna see. Whatever you say, he's gonna feel. I could be talking to mom and this comes out this way, like, no, I didn't do that, and he thinks I'm being negative, and really I'm just saying it loud, right? And but he's like, why was Dad mad today? Like, Dad wasn't mad. No, he said this. But the way you say it and approach things, he's gonna pick up. Also, if I tell him I'm gonna do something, I better do it. I learned that from RIP Grady Maxwell Sr. He said, anything you tell your son, make sure you do it. If you tell him you're gonna be at his game, be at his game. And so that's big for me. There's times where I can go out recruiting or I can go to his game, and I choose to go to his game. Now, recruiting is very important. It's instrumental in the process of getting good players. All good coaches have good players and a good culture. And so that's very important. So I'm not trying to say I skip out on recruiting, but I also need to invest in my son as much as I can, and I do it as much as I can. Games are one thing, but coming home when that homework's ready to go, I'm all about that too, because I didn't have that. My mom made us do it. Like, oh, you got homework, or oh, I did it at home. I did it at school, right? And you know, you wake up at 5 a.m. next morning and get it in and get that school, right? But for him, he has to come home and do it right away, and it's very, very important. And statistics say the better you read, the better students you're going to be. The more money your parents make, the better students you're going to be, right? And so you come from a 2-parent household, the better students you're going to be. A nice zip code, better students you're going to be. So if you look at all these different things and try to implement them in your kids, then your kid will have a chance to be more successful, at least in school. Then you teach them outside of school and rules and regulations. They'll be a pretty successful person inside of navigating that part. So hopefully he is. He comes to Multicultural Child and Family Hope Center. He's actually here right now. And I was blessed yesterday because they asked all the kids, how many of you guys get in trouble every day? He was one that didn't raise his hand. 2 of them didn't raise their hand. And it was him and another girl, and I was so blessed to have the opportunity that he never gets in trouble. And so maybe I want him to get in a little bit of trouble and be a little bit tougher. No, but I'm happy that he doesn't. So yeah. It's a blessing. So I'm super blessed.
He's a product of having good parents, man. I mean,
appreciate it.
You know, what about wife?
His mom's on him more than me.
Hey, and
his mom stays on him.
Before we end this, we need to at least ask you to just talk about your wife a little bit, man.
Okay.
Talk about it.
So my wife's name is Lisa. Lisa and I met in Tacoma at TCC actually, and she's from Gig Harbor originally, so we live in Gig Harbor. And when I say this, it might sound weird. She, like married guys know, she's the chief of the house. Whatever she says goes. And so when Joaquin says, "Dad, can I?" What did your mom say? Right? It matters, right? And so she's a flight attendant and is dealing with some COVID stuff from working as a flight attendant back when the planes were shutting down. And so she's still working through that. So I would tell all these people, I'm not going to tell you what to do with your shot or not to do with your shot. That's up to you. But just know that COVID stuff is real and there could be lifelong issues that you deal with. And so I'll leave it like that. But she is, and she's handling it and she's still grinding and working. But what the business side of things, she takes care of whatever Joaquin needs, whatever I need, the calendar, all that. We let her do it. she's the real vision, the real brain to it. Cool, man. And I'm lucky that when I was doing insurance, I was doing good. I did really good. And she was like, "Man, I trust you. Start your own company, do what you got to do." And so that support mattered.
Well, shout out to your wife, man. Shout out to your family. You got an amazing family.
Thanks.
Obviously, your immediate family as well. Your sisters.
Right, they're crazy. My sisters are the best. I give them all the shout out. Latasha, my older sister, Harmony, and Courtney. They do real work. They implement their work in whatever setting they're in, and it spreads. And so Harmony's in LA, Courtney's here working for the state of Washington, and Derek Kilmer and Latasha work for Tacoma Public Utilities, and they're all killing it. And if I was more like them, I'd be doing better.
And the one thing that I told myself I wouldn't do, and I figured I'd save it for the end.
So I can't say no,
huh? So you got no choice but to go there.
All right.
But hey, man, this has been a great interview, bro. Like, there's so much more we can talk about. Like,
no question.
You know, I mean, we've grown up together. We went through a lot of things together, and you know, I feel like we just touched the surface today. But even just touching the surface.
Round 2, bring me back.
We're definitely gonna do a round 2, bro. One of the things that I would like for you to say though is, man, I really want to hear your take on, for me, because I'm a guy that I was a big daddy's son. You know, I wanted to be like my dad. Even though my dad was never there, my dad was in and out of prison. My dad was in the military. My dad was out drinking. My dad was abusive. He was aggressive, and he treated us unfairly. I still wanted to be like him. Did you ever go through any times where you had those nights where you just were crying out for a little bit of time with your dad at all, ever?
I don't want to say cried out, but I fiend for having a male figure that was my dad around, but I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know what it would be like. My dad was around until I was like 9 or 10, and then he was gone. He was just gone. We didn't even know where he was at. He was gone, right? And so, and my dad and I have a good relationship now. My dad actually had a stroke and 2 strokes and a heart attack, and now he's back in Tacoma, and we have a good relationship, and we talk all the time and all that stuff. But I just want to be that for my son. I want to be where he says, "Hey, Dad," where he say, "I can tell my dad anything. I want him to be able to come to me and tell me whatever he has on his heart." And if it hurts, he tells me. If it's great, he tells me. Right? I want that joy to be for my son. So
for sure.
He just walked in the room right here. So, right?
What's up, man?
You having fun?
Yes,
Good.
How you doing?
No, not right now. Sit right there. He got something on his mind because he said yes, but
Well, hey, I don't want to keep you from the job, the family, and everything you got going on, man. I really do appreciate you for spending a little time with us. We're definitely gonna do a round 2. Man, it's been a great interview, bro.
No, I'm happy to be on here with you. So, hey, I'm proud of you, bro. Keep this up because all these big time people you bringing on here, I feel like I'm a big timer now. I feel like I'm somebody now, right? So, hey, keep it up. It's good stuff. Bro.
Hey, and to me, you know what it is, man. It's not about big time. It's about people that are doing big time things to our people. You know what I'm saying? They're striving to do the best with the opportunities that they have. You know, you're out helping the community. You're coaching. You're dealing with people at Young Life. Dealing with people at Al Davies Boys and Girls Club. Like you are dedicated to your community, and those are the people that I want to be interviewing.
It's important. I'm doing a free camp at Al Davies real soon too, so
definitely give me the 411 and all that stuff, man. And let's stay in the loop. Let's get together. I have a mug for you too.
I'll pick it up. I'll use it.
I'm gonna get it to you as soon as I can. And
okay, appreciate you.
We'll link up for sure, man. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Take care.
Guys, thank you so much for listening in to Circle Talk today. We will be back next week with who are we with next week? Mr.
You got too many big timers.
Mr. Network is in the building next week, guys. So make sure you guys tune in next week. It's gonna be a great talk. It's gonna be Saturday next week. Thank you so much. So on behalf of the Circle, it's your boy DH, Rachi Wortham in the building. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your days.
Thanks for your time.